Hello guys, and welcome back to our channel. Now in today's video we take a look into the unexpected consequences of a decision that has shaken one Pamukala man to his core. Meet Bradley Bartel, a Trump supporter whose world turned upside down when his wife Camilla, a woman he believed was one of the good ones, was swept up by ICE just days after their honeymoon in Puerto Rico. Now their love story, years in the making, now faces an uncertain future as Camilla, despite their legal efforts to secure her citizenship, finds herself caught in the harsh realities of immigration policy. Now Bradley's regret is palpable, and his story serves as a reminder that sometimes the choices we make can have lasting unforeseen consequences. This is the tale of love, loss, and a man learning the hard way that you can't always predict how your beliefs will play out in real life. He voted for Trump thinking that Trump was going to take out illegal immigrants, but now he's being affected. So with that said, let's get into the videos as different people react to this. I will be right back.
He voted for Donald Trump, she supported Donald Trump, and now she sits in an ICE detainment center. This is the breaking news story of Camilla and Bradley. She is an immigrant from Peru. He happens to be a legal U.S. citizen. They got married. They've been married for 2 years. They are working on her paperwork for her to become a legal permanent resident. She works on a W-2. Okay, so she's going through all the proper channels to become a citizen here. And she's still got, or I guess she's not deported, she's detained awaiting deportation. So he didn't know this was going to happen to him. Do you, as the viewer, a liberal viewer, did you know it was going to happen to him? We can have a Dora moment here, because that's how incompetent these people seem to be. You said we were fear-mongering, that it would never happen. Now that it has come knocking at your door literally, you're sitting there and regretting your vote. You stated you knew it was going to go down, but you didn't know it was going to go down like this. We all knew. You ignored it. FAFO. You guys both supported Donald Trump. I got no sympathy here.
Now, Bradley, regretting our vote, are we? Sit back and enjoy that vote. We tried to tell y'all for months. Your wife probably sitting there pissed with herself too, because she probably voted for it, but not her side of the glass. We tried to tell y'all it was not. Oh, it's just for the criminals. When you voted for a convicted felon, it's just for the criminals. When all they're doing is criminal activity. I don't know, maybe you and your wife can be pen pals. I don't know, glass pals, because you're looking at her through the glass. It's so... You thought you were going to be safe because you voted for him. No, baby, he don't like you just like he don't like me. You were so blinded by the fact that you thought everything he was doing was only going to affect black people, not reading the fine print, realizing you're married to an immigrant. Now you can sit back and enjoy it like we said you would. Enjoy your vote.
We have some big news right now. A man voted for Donald Trump, and now his wife is sitting in an ICE detention center. This story involves Bradley Bartel and Camila Munoz. According to USA Today, the two of them have been together for several years now. Last month, they were on their way home to Wisconsin after honeymooning in Puerto Rico when an immigration agent pulled her aside in the airport, asked if she was an American citizen. She wasn't. But they had taken legal steps so that one day she might get U.S. citizenship, so they felt comfortable enough to travel to Puerto Rico. And while now she's in an ICE detention facility, millions of Americans, including Bartel, her husband, voted for Donald Trump on the promise that he would crack down on criminal illegal immigrations. But now they're having buyer's remorse because this effort has expanded to include immigrants whose application for legal status is in the country is under review. None of the women had criminal records. All were in the ongoing legal immigration process and felt comfortable boarding a domestic flight. And well, now Camila is in a ICE detention center, and her husband is having buyer's remorse for his vote for Donald Trump.
On today's episode of This Is What I Voted For, but I did not think it would affect me. Because this Wisconsin man voted for Trump, now his wife sits in an ICE detention center. And the guy's name is Bradley Bartel, and his wife is Camila Munoz. And she's basically a citizen from Peru, and they recently got married. And apparently they were coming back from their honeymoon, and then they got detained by ICE agents when returning at the airport. Now, she did apply for a green card, but she did overstay her visa. But according to White House Press Secretary Triple K Caroline Leavitt, she said that if an individual is overstaying their visa, they are therefore an illegal immigrant residing in this country. And as of right now, she's actually being detained in a facility in Louisiana, and Bradley himself is actually thinking a lot about his vote for Donald Trump. But comment and let me know what you think, and my name is Phil, and follow me if you like what I post. Thank you.
A Trump voter is now in the find out phase as his wife is sitting in an ICE detention center ready to be deported. Now meet Bradley Bartell and his wife Camilla. There they are, the happy couple just married. Now he voted for Donald Trump even though his wife was here illegally. She originally came on a visa, but she overstayed that visa. And he supported Donald Trump despite his policies to deport people. Now he thought it would be somebody else, but on return from their honeymoon in Puerto Rico, ICE picked her up because she was on a database for overstaying her visa. And of course, these people are just beside themselves. They didn't think this would happen to them. They thought it would be the others. They thought Camilla would get to stay because she was originally vetted for her visa. She was working, she had a W-2, and she paid taxes. They thought she would be the last one in the clubhouse who could pull up the ladder and prevent everybody else from coming in. But now they're in the find out phase. And he is upset. He calls the condition she's in terrible. They can't believe they would do this to somebody. Well, he was ready for it to happen to somebody else. And welcome to the find out phase.
Well, I guess around and you found out. This is crazy. You people is funny. You really thought this wasn't going to happen.
This guy right here thought that his non-U.S. citizen wife was one of the good ones and now regrets that he voted for Donald Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a love story about Bradley Bartell, a Trump supporter, and his wife Camilla, who was just deported. This is a love story that began in a small town in Wisconsin. You see, these two lovebirds, they were just having a grand old time until the United States immigration policies caught up to them. They met through a mutual friend and had a first date at a local steakhouse. Married 2 years after that, and then they started to save up some money so that they could buy a house and perhaps have some kids. The love was so pure that Camilla was taking care of Brad's 12-year-old son like it was her own. But last month, after Bradley and Camilla were both returning from their honeymoon in Puerto Rico, the ICE agents rolled up on her and said, "Hey, we need to talk." "Are you an American citizen?" they asked. No, she said. "No, I'm not." She explained that she was from Peru, but she's not a problem because her and Brad had already started the paperwork process, since they were in the process of getting married, and that she's okay in the United States. Despite the fact that they knew Camilla had overstayed her visa, they both wore their wedding rings for the flight home, believing that the United States government knew that she had applied for her green card. They believed this wouldn't be a problem because guess what? She was vetted from the start, was getting a W-2, and paid her taxes. Before the agents led Camilla away, she pulled off her wedding ring, afraid that they might confiscate it, and she shoved it into her backpack and handed it to Bradley. He looked at her, and he shook his head as she disappeared. He thought, "What the F did I do?" You see, what Camilla and Bradley didn't understand, especially Bradley, is that when Donald Trump talked about doing these mass deportations, he had expanded it so that it also included immigrants whose application for legal status in this country was under review. Even those married or engaged to U.S. citizens are being detained. According to an immigration attorney, David Rososk, anyone who isn't a legal permanent resident or a United States citizen is at risk, period. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a love story that involves a Trump supporter and his wife, who's from another country, who were on their way to being happily married until he went out and voted for her to be deported. Yeah, Bradley, what the F did you do?
Now, I know this is sad, but how did he not know that his wife wasn't safe? Now, Bradley Bartell's story is just another example of the disconnect between political beliefs and the real-world consequences of those beliefs. Here's a man who, despite knowing his wife Camilla was not a U.S. citizen, thought that her status would somehow shield her from the very immigration policies he actively supported for by voting for Donald Trump. It's almost as if he believed that his personal situation and marriage between a U.S. citizen and a non-citizen would exempt them from the sweeping, often brutal actions of ICE. But that's not how it works. The reality of Trump's immigration policies has been clear from the start. There are no exceptions, no favored individuals. If you are undocumented, you're at risk, regardless of your relationship with an American citizen or how good you might seem in the eyes of those who vote for the very policies that target people like you. Now, for Bradley, this was a wake-up call, but a painful one. He voted for a president whose rhetoric and policies dehumanize millions, including the woman he loved. Now he's faced with the consequences of that choice, watching as his wife is torn from him, swept away by a system he helped empower. It's a bitter irony. Bradley thought his vote would protect his wife, yet it was that same vote that put her at risk. It's really a painful reminder that in a world shaped by policies, no one is immune from the fallout, no matter how close you are to the system you help create. Now, the story of these two had a familiar small-town love story before they collided with immigration politics. They met through mutual friends, had a first date at the local steakhouse, married after 2 years, and were saving to buy a house and have kids. Camila was already caring for Bartel's now 12-year-old son as her own. But last month, on their way home to Wisconsin after honeymooning in Puerto Rico, an immigration agent pulled Camila aside in the airport. "Are you an American citizen?" asked the agent. She answered no, she wasn't. She's from Peru. But she and her husband had taken the legal steps so that one day she might get U.S. citizenship. Now, millions of Americans, including Bartel, had voted for President Donald Trump's promise to crack down on criminal illegal immigrants. But 8 weeks in, the mass deportation effort has rapidly expanded to include immigrants whose application for legal status in the country is under review. Even those married or engaged to U.S. citizens are being detained by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, in addition to Camila's story, USA Today has confirmed through attorneys, family members, and documents that ICE has detained for weeks a woman in her 50s who has lived in the country more than 30 years and is married to a U.S. citizen. A woman in her 30s with proof of valid permanent legal residency whose father and siblings are U.S. citizens and who first came to the U.S. as a teen. A European woman in her 30s engaged to a U.S. citizen who's overstayed her visa when she was 21. A woman engaged to a U.S. legal permanent resident with whom she has lived for 9 years. None of the women has a criminal record, according to a USA Today review of national law enforcement records. All were in an ongoing legal immigration process and felt comfortable enough boarding a domestic flight. Immigration agents swept each of them up at airport checkpoints in mid-February in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Neither ICE nor its parent agency, the Department of Homeland Security, responded to multiple requests for comment. Now, some Trump voters are just waking up to the fact that the president's aggressive anti-immigration politics affects them too. Now, fearing that her wedding ring would be taken from her, Camila took it off and stashed it in a backpack that she handed to Bartel, who shook as he watched the agents take her away. "What the F do I do?" Bartel told publication he thought in that moment. Now, Trump has based his anti-immigration rhetoric on the falsehood that the people who have entered the U.S. are unalivers and rapists, and that they are a drain on the country's economy and government resources as unemployed migrants struggle to obtain work and housing. In reality, undocumented immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born citizens, and in 2022, approximately 4.5% of the workforce was undocumented, contributing to some $75.6 billion in total taxes, according to the American Immigration Council. Overstaying the length of your permitted immigration by expired visa or otherwise is considered an administrative violation, not a criminal one, but none of that matters under the Trump administration. Anyone who isn't a legal permanent resident or U.S. citizen is at risk, period. Now, the legal director of the ACLU of Louisiana warned that non-citizens should assume they could be targeted during travel. The unfortunate answer is they have to be worried. If you are not a citizen of the United States and you're going through an immigration process, your first thought needs to be, how can this process be weaponized against me? Now, some of the other people who have been targeted by the immigration agency have lived in the US for decades. Earlier this month, a Trump supporter in Virginia said he was similarly reconsidering his support for the president after he was racially profiled and interrogated by ICE agents who had their pupils drawn. I voted for Trump last election, but because I thought it was going to be the things, like just go against criminals, not every Hispanic looking like, that they'll assume that we're all illegals. A naturalized US citizen told Telemundo 44. Now, imagine watching your partner being taken away, knowing you may never see them again. The pain, the helplessness, the regret. It's a devastating feeling that's really hard to put into words. For one man, this nightmare became a reality when his Venezuelan wife was deported after ICE raids in South Florida. Now, what makes this story even more heartbreaking is that this man had voted for Trump, supporting his hardline stance on immigration. He never thought that the policies he endorsed would end up tearing his own family apart. I voted for him because I believed he would make America safer, he said. I never thought it could come from my own family. We have finally come to the end of the video, but I feel this is just a reminder that policies have real-life consequences affecting flesh and blood people who are just trying to live their lives. And this man's story is another cautionary tale about the importance of considering the human impact of our consequences. Do share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Don't forget to give our videos a thumbs up if you enjoy our content. Thank you for always watching, and see you in our next video as we bring you another video.